We continue now at the top of Daf Yomi Gemara, Mesechet Sanhedrin. This is Sanhedrin Daf 5b. And the previous summit, the Gemara asked, why does Reb Chia refer to Rav as the son of my sister? He should have said the son of my brother, which is the same way that he referred to Rav Bar Chana. And the Gemara says another answer, it could be the reason why he referred to Rav as the son of his sister was Al Shem Chachmasu, because of the wisdom of Rav. Rashi explains Al Shem Chachmasu Shaya Rav Chacham Biyoser, because Rav was very wise. Kari le Ben Achoso, so he refers to him as Ben Achoso. Why does he refer to him as Ben Achoso? Dichsib, because it's written in the pasuk Emor l'Chachma Achosiat. It says, "Say to wisdom, you're my sister." You see the reference to wisdom and sister together, and that's why he referred to him as the son of his sister. And the Gemara continues, Yatir Bechoros Al Yatir. The Gemara said that by Rav, when Reb Chia asked whether Rav could be Matir Bechoros, so the answer of Rebbe was Al Yatir. He's not giving him permission to be Matir Bechoros. What's the reason why he didn't give him permission? My time, and the Gemara says, what's the reason for this? Why didn't Rebbe allow Rav to be Matir Bechoros when he traveled to Bavel? The Gemara says, if you're going to say it's because he wasn't wise, we just said that Rav was wise, that he was very wise. Rather what you'll say is, maybe he wasn't such an expert at blemishes. You have to be able to discern between a mum kavua, between a permanent blemish and a non-permanent blemish when you're matering a bechor. But that's not true either. But Rav said, there were 18 months that I was raised by those who grazed the animals, Leda, in order to know Eza mum kavua, what's a permanent blemish, ve'eza mum over, and what's a temporary blemish, and so that can't be the reason either. And so therefore, again, what is the reason why Rebbe did not give him permission to issue rulings in this regard? And the Gemara says, Ela rather lechalek lo kavod l'Rav Bar Chana. The reason was that he wanted to make sure that Rav Bar Chana would get an appropriate amount of respect. And so if Rav Bar Chana had this permission and Rav did not, that would ensure that Rav Bar Chana would have this respect. And Rashi explains, L'chale kavod l'Rabba kadei sheyinago bo b'nei Bavel, kavod in order that the people of Bavel will treat him with respect, shavik lehai chashivusa. So he gave him this level of importance that he's the one that can deal with being matter the bechors. The ilul Rav having hagi be'yakab alav, because Rav anyway was respected without this, so he did not need this. And the Gemara continues with another answer. By saying, if you want, I could say another answer why Rav was not given permission to be matir the animals that were bechors. Mishum hagufe, it's because of that very reason. The Rav bekia b'mumei tfei, because Rav was such an expert at blemishes. V'shari mumei delo yadi inchi, and so therefore he might permit blemishes that people don't realize are really blemishes that allow. V'amri, and then they're going to say ki haigavna shara Rav. They're going to say, look, Rav allowed that. V'yasu lemishrei mum over, but they won't be such experts, and so therefore they're going to come to permit even these temporary kind of blemishes. And the Gemara continues, Yora. The Gemara says again that Reb Chia asked, can he have permission to issue rulings with regards to Isser V'Heter? And Rebbe said yes, he can issue those rulings. And the Gemara says, Igamir Rishus Alamali. Now, if the person is learned, why do you need Rishus in order to issue a ruling with regards to Isser V'Heter? What's the reason for that? Lamali Lamishkal, what do you need Rishus in such a situation? Because when it comes to monetary issues, it makes sense, you need permission. You're taking from one person and giving to another person. But when it comes to just letting someone know whether something is us or mutter, why would you need permission to issue a ruling for that? And the Gemara says to that, Misham Ma'isa Shai, it's because of an incident that occurred. Tanya, because we learned in a brisa, Pamachas Holach Rebbe Lamakam Echad. One time Rebbe went to a particular place. V'Rabbanei Adam Shemegavlani so saying Betum, and he saw that the people were kneading their dough in Tumah. There was a practice to try to keep everything pure, and they were doing it in Tumah. Amar Lahem, he said to them, Imnei Mata Megavlani so saying Betumah, why are you kneading your dough in Tumah? Amar Lo, they said to him, Talmud Echad Balakan, there was a certain student who came here, and he taught us Mei Bitzoim Ein Machshirin, that the water from the marshes, this kind of still water, it doesn't machshir, it doesn't prepare food to be Mekabel Tumah, and so therefore we're using Mei Bitzoim, so it's not a problem. That's what they said. But the Gemara says, V'hu Mei Beitzim Darashlu. What actually happened was he had said Mei Beitzim, he had said from eggs. The liquid of eggs is not machshir to be Mekabel Tumah, but they made a mistake. V'inu Savor Mei Bitzoim Kamer. They thought he said Mei Bitzoim. And the Gemara continues, V'to nami behind. They also made a mistake in the following. It says in the Mishnah Meseches Para me karamyon me pega pesulin mimnei shehein me bitzoim. It says that the waters from the Kramyon River and the Pega River, those are disqualified for the mechatos. This is talking about the mechatos. That's the waters that are mixed with the ashes of the para aduma in order to create the mechatos, which purifies a person who is tamei meis. And so it says you can't use the waters from these rivers because it's considered like me bitzoim. It's considered like still water. It's not considered like flowing water. Ve'inu summer. Now they thought midalagabe chatos psili, from the fact that you can't use this water from echatos. So achshure nami lo mechashi. So it's also not considered water in terms of rendering food susceptible to tumah. But veloi, but that's not actually true. Hasam le'inyan chatos ba'inan mayim chayim. Over there, when we talk about the mechatos, you need, as we said, you need flowing water. Hacha, but over here, achshure koldu mechashrei, any kind of water is going to be machshir, is going to render food susceptible to be makabel tumah, and that's why they had made that mistake. And the Gemara continues, so Tanasa was taught, but Osasha at that time, Gazru, they made a decree, Talmud al Yore, a student should not be issuing any rulings with regards to Isser v'Heter, Elim ke notel rishus me'rabu, unless he gets permission from his Rebbe. And Rashi explains, Notel Rishus Me Rabo, he needs to get permission from his Rebbe. V'chiyoiv le Rabo Rishusa, when his Rebbe gives him permission, Meidak Da'ik Bey, then he'll be very careful, She'ei Lashona Pasuach V'lo Yitu Hashomin, as Devarav, that he's going to be clear, and that nobody will make a mistake in terms of what he is saying. And the Gemara continues, Tanchum Bereider Rabbi Yami Ikla Lechasar, Tanchum, the son of Rabbi Yami, he went to a place called Chasar, Dorish Loni Darshan for them, he taught them as follows, Mutter Lilsos Chitin, but Pesach, a person can soak wheat in water on Pesach, it's not a concern that it's going to become chametz. Amru Lo, and they said to him, Lav Rabbi Moni de Minsur Ikahacha, isn't Rabbi Moni from Tzur, isn't he around here, isn't he in this area? V'tanyan, we learned in a Brisa Talmud, Al Yora Halacha b'makom Rabo, that a student shouldn't issue a halachic ruling when his Rebbe is around, unless he is 3 parsos in distance away from him, Keneged Machane Yisrael, corresponding to the size of the encampment of Klal Yisrael. And so therefore, how could you issue this ruling when your Rebbe is around? Amar Lui said to them, Lavadatoy, I did not realize that he was around. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Chia Chazia Lahu Gavra to have a koi bevesak varas. Rabbi Chia saw a certain person that he was standing in a cemetery. Amar Lei said to him, Lav ben Ishploni Kohen Ata, aren't you the son of so-and-so who's a Kohen? How can you be standing in a cemetery? A Kohen is not supposed to become Tameh. Amar Lei said to him, in yes, Avuadu Gavra Gavoy Naim Hava, the father of this individual, meaning my father, he had raised eyes, meaning he looked at things that should have been prohibited to him. And what happened was, Nasan Einav Begrusha V'chilalo, he set his eyes upon a divorcee. A Kohen's not supposed to marry a divorcee, but he married a divorcee, and therefore what happened was, he caused his children to become Chalolim, I am a Chalol, and therefore it's not prohibited for me to become Tameh to a mace. And the Gemara continues, Pshita, it is obvious, lepalga, that when it comes to a situation of getting permission halfway, getting permission to issue some rulings, but not rulings with regards to other areas of halacha, so that's already obvious. Haka Amar Demahani, we said that a person can have partial permission. A person can have permission, for example, to issue rulings in Isser v'Heter, and not necessarily in Dinei Mominis, etc. But the Gemara asks, Al Tanai Mai, but what about if it's conditional? Meaning, what about if a person is given permission just for, let's say, a certain amount of time? And the Gemara says, Tashma, come in here the following proof. The Amalei Rabbi Yochanan Rav Shemin. Rabbi Yochanan said to Rav Shemin, Harei atabir shuseinu, you're going to have permission from us at Shetavo Etzleinu until you come to us. And so you see that he gave him permission just for a specific amount of time. And the Gemara continues, Gufa, returning to what we said above. Amar Shmuel, Shmuel says, Beis Shadanu Dineim Din. If two people judge, so that's considered, after they issue a ruling, the ruling is considered to be a legitimate ruling. Ela Shenikra Bezin Chatzif, but that's called a Bezin Chatzif, an insolent Bezdin. You're not supposed to do that, but after the fact, it will be considered a good ruling. And the Gemara continues, Yosef Rav Nachman v'Kamar Lo Shemaita. Rav Nachman was sitting and he said over this teaching, Eisvei Rav Rav Nachman, and Rav asked Rav Nachman the following question. And this is from a Mishnah later on. Afilu shnayim mizakin or shnayim mechayvin. Let's say you have 3 judges, 2 of them say innocent, or let's say 2 of them say guilty, but v'yachar omer eni yodea, but the third one, that one says, I don't know. So he doesn't issue a ruling one way or the other. So what you should do is, Yosifu hadayanim, you should add on to the judges. You can't have that only 2 issue a ruling and one says, I don't know. All of them have to issue a ruling for the ruling to go into effect. And Rashi explains, Yosifu hadayanim, you add on to the judges, the havale kamandalo havahasam, because that third judge who says, I don't know, it's like he's not there. Vishtakach the trehudav, it turns out that you have just 2 judges. Vanon bo'inon meikar, it's lost, and we require that you have to have from the outset 3 judges. The yinami gomardina betray that way, if you're going to conclude the ruling with 2 of them, let's say with that majority, but then at least they're a majority. To have a ruba, then they're a majority, shaper dummy, then it's okay. So you need to have 3 judges in order to follow the ruling of the 2 judges. And Rava continues and asks, V'isa, now if it's true what Shmuel says, that 2 people are able to issue a ruling, it's just called a Bezin Chatzif, so Lahavik Ishnayim Shadanu, so why do you need to add a judge? Let it just be as if 2 people are judging the case. And the Gemara continues and answers, Shani Hasam, it's different over there, Demeikara Adaita Detlasa Yasivi, because there from the beginning the understanding is there would be 3 judges. So there you have to have 3 judges. But over here, Lav Adaita Detlasa Yasivi, when they start with just 2 judges, so they didn't sit down with the intention of having 3 judges, and that's why the ruling B'di'evid is considered to be a good ruling. And the Gemara continues, Eisvei, we have a question from the following Brisa. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, Omer Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says, Hadin b'shlosha, when it comes to judgment, to rulings that are issued, that's 3 judges, upeshara, but when they're issuing a compromise, b'shnayim, that's issued by 2 judges, v'yofe koach pshara mikoach hadin, and it is stronger, the strength of the pshara, of the compromise, than the ruling, sheshnayim shadanu, because if you have two judges who issue a ruling, balei din and yecholin lachzor b'hen, the litigants are able to retract that, they can go back on that, ushnayim sha'asu pshara, but if two judges work out a pshara, a compromise, ein balei din and yecholin lachzor b'hen, so then the balei din and the litigants are not able to go back from that pshara, they have to follow the pshara. And Rashi explains, Shnayim shasu pshara ein balei din yecholin lachzor b'hen. If 2 issue a ruling of pshara, of compromise, the litigants are not able to go back from that. Shari nisratzu, because the whole point is they agreed. V'al pi anason, it was done through them, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Vav Amud Aleph.